This video is brought to you by Brilliant. When a left-wing party gets into government, you'd expect them to focus on the sorts of things that a left-wing party cares about. One of the key things you'd expect, for instance, is for them to protect the welfare state, and over time, even potentially improve its offering. This doesn't appear to be the case with the current government, though, with them only a few days ago making changes to the welfare system that would see a huge amount of people worse off. So, with this in mind, it's worth asking, why did Labour make these changes? What kind of welfare state did they inherit, and will their changes actually improve it for the future? Last week, I interviewed UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to ask him your questions about the UK's new plans to support Ukraine and European defence initiatives in the aftermath of Trump's recent actions. Watch the video now by clicking the link in the description. Now, it's been no secret that the welfare state in the UK has been struggling for some time, and there seems to be evidence that without change, it could struggle further. In the last year, the government has spent about £296.8 billion on welfare, an increase of about £80 billion in nominal terms since 2013-14. At the current trajectory, this is expected to increase yet further to £378.5 billion by 2029-30. Digging down a bit deeper into the data though, we can see that the increase is driven by some areas more than others. The bulk of the spending has gone towards pensioners, with about £155.6 billion of welfare spending going to this age group in particular in 2023-24, or about 5.6% of GDP. This includes £124.1 billion on the state pension, £6.2 billion on housing benefit, £5.4 billion on pension credit, £4.3 billion on the cost of living payments, and £2 billion on winter fuel payments. Moreover, about half the total increase in welfare spending since 2011 has gone towards pensioners, equating to around £55.3 billion. Given that Labour pledged in their 2024 manifesto not to touch the triple lock on the state pension, which requires pensions to increase by whichever is highest out of inflation, average wages, or 2.5%, this will be hard for the government to rein in. The UK also has an ageing population, and therefore more and more people are hitting an age where they're entitled to things like the state pension. Undoing the triple lock then would be tantamount to political suicide. Instead, Starmer's government has looked at the other major drivers behind the increased welfare bill in the last decade and a half: health and disability benefits. Total incapacity-related benefits, for instance, cost the government £13.3 billion in nominal terms in 2010-11. This increased to £25.5 billion by 2023-24 and is expected to rise to £35.5 billion in 2029-30. Similarly, disability benefit cost the government £17.1 billion in 2010-11. This increased to £35.2 billion in 2023-24 and is expected to rise to a whopping £59.4 billion by 2029-30. As the Financial Times has shown, when you calculate this all as a percentage of GDP, the combined cost of health and disability benefits has doubled from just over 1% in 2005 to nearly 2% in 2024, with it expected to get to 2.5% by 2029. As we see it, there are basically three reasons for this rise in health and incapacity benefits. The first are the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on physical and mental health. As we know, the pandemic affected different countries in different ways, and this also appears to be true when it comes to the rise of health-related benefits. The UK is something of an outlier in this regard, with a huge increase in the amount of the population claiming working age incapacity and disability payments after the pandemic versus before. Richard Partington, writing for The Guardian, has suggested that this could be because the UK had a particularly bad health shock as a result of the pandemic, caused by record waiting lists and crumbling public services. This is, though, just a theory, and no causal evidence has been cited. The second is an increase in mental health issues. Between 2023 and 2024, the number of people that contacted NHS England mental health services rose by about 40%. In the same time period, we also saw a huge increase in the number of 16 to 29-year-olds claiming personal independence payments on the grounds of psychiatric disorders. And the third reason is that the fiscal incentives pushing people into higher levels of benefit payments, combined with inadequate support for people seeking work, results in more benefit payments leaving the state and fewer people actually working. Essentially, the FT points out that the basic level of universal credit at £393 per month is short of the £520 that the Joseph Rowntree Foundation estimates is needed to cover essentials, so food, utilities, household items, etc. In 2023, this was the lowest basic rate of unemployment benefit in the UK in real terms in 40 years. As Ben Geiger, a professor of social sciences and health at King's College London, speaking to the FT, pointed out, a lot of people who are out of work are, quote, often terrified of falling into destitution, and are terrified of the official checks that they're trying to get work. As such, people will apply for higher levels of benefits, such as the Universal Credit Health Top-Up, which do not require them to seek work. Essentially then, the current system actually works against people who want to work, as doing so could rule them out of getting the Universal Credit Health add-on. With all this in mind, it seems the Starmer government has opted to try to cut down spending on welfare by 2030 by making significant changes to how welfare spending works for health and disability. One of the big changes they're making is to personal independence payments, or PIPs. Essentially, qualification for PIPs works via a score being given in two areas: how your daily living is impacted and how your mobility is impacted. If the Department for Work and Pensions rules that your life is impacted in either area, you're given a standard PIP rate. If it's severely impacted, then you're given the enhanced rate. This week, though, the government increased the threshold for the standard rate in the daily living component. This means that needing prompting to prepare food, help with shower or washing and dressing the lower body, and needing help to engage with others will not, on their own, be enough to qualify for support. In addition to this, the government has introduced measures that aim to get rid of the incentive for those on universal credit to apply for PIP payments. And they will no longer allow those aged under 22 to claim the universal credit top-up. However, they're also increasing the rate of universal credit. And they've introduced a new right to try work for those on benefits, meaning that pledging to work will itself not trigger a benefits reassessment. All in all then, while the government has been keen to present this as a way of mending a system that discourages work, whilst also saving £5 billion a year, others have been more critical, with The Guardian describing them as a wrong and cruel decision that ministers should live to regret, and the Disability Benefits Consortium describing them as immoral and devastating. At TLDR News, we're always trying to help you learn more about the world around you. Luckily for us, our sponsor this week, Brilliant, shares this same commitment, with thousands of lessons in maths, science, programming, and AI. And not only that, their interactive lessons teach you by doing, instead of just asking you to mindlessly memorize stuff. This helps you build your critical thinking skills and become a better thinker. For instance, Brilliant's newly updated maths courses help you establish a strong foundation in algebra. Then helps you build on this, teaching you how to conquer calculus, all while maintaining an emphasis on problem solving and reasoning. The thing I like best about this, though, is that their mathematical courses help you develop your mathematical intuition and fluency, skills that you can use in the real world. As we've told you before, data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To try Brilliant for free, visit brilliant.org/TLDR or scan the QR code on screen, or you can click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.